Welcome all. Blessings of the day to you. This is the September 20th Sunday service of the Unitarian Universalist Church of St. Petersburg, a congregation for the spiritual well-being and growth of all souls. We keep in mind in our service this week that we celebrate both the Jewish High Holy Days and their hope for a more perfect life, and the American Constitution's hope for a more perfect union. We'll start with some announcements this morning. If you're new with us and want to learn more, go to uustpete.org, our website. That's uustpete.org. Or you may contact me by email or text or phone to chat. We do have an electronic newsletter that you can find on the website. And we're still physical distancing, not meeting at the church, but we're doing everything we can to stay connected and to support one another. If you'd like to talk through something during this time of isolation, I'm available by phone or email and can meet with you at the church if that would be good for you. And don't forget that telephoning each other is also a great thing. And also don't forget our small covenant groups continue to meet during this time of isolation, meeting monthly, mainly on Zoom, to converse about how life is going for each of the members of the group. If you aren't a member and would like to join, please let me know. I can help. The Buildings and Grounds Committee is looking for volunteers to choose a section of the church landscaping for weeding and keeping neat. You may contact Sabina to get your section. And last but not least, thanks to those contributing today in word, song, production, and presence for our service. Paul and Sarah Craig, and John and James and Annie, and of course, you. Now an opening hymn, then our chalice lighting, covenant, and invocation.
We're going to continue now with a hymn, the words of which were written by the revered Rabbi Nachman of Breslov in the Ukraine. The words invoke the spirit of the Jewish High Holy Days, taking responsibility for the past and building hope for the future.
Oh, hear my people, hear me well. I have no need for sacrifice, but mercy, loving kindness shall alone for life and good suffice. Then, source of peace, lead us to peace, a place profound and wholly true, and lead us to a mastery, or drives in us that war pursue. May deeds we do inscribe our names as blessings in the book of life. O source of peace, lead us to heal. O source of peace, lead us from strife.
Good morning. I'm Paul Craig, and I'm here with my wife, Sarah. It's good to be with you this morning. We light our chalice now as a symbol of our shared communion and search for truth. If you will, join me in the words of our covenant. Love is the spirit of this church, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Hello. Our invocation is drawn from UU minister and historian Alice Blair Wesley, rendering of the pledge of the Pilgrim's Free Church. In the spirit of life, may we walk together in the ways of understanding and caring, as best we understand them now or may learn them in days to come, that we and our children might be fulfilled, and that we might speak to the world in words and actions of peace and goodwill. May it be so.
I have a question for our families with children at home that they might want to explore together. I wonder if your family has ever discussed what is the most important human superpower. Because of the coronavirus, I can't come over for dinner and share answers with you, so I'll tell you what my answer would be, and that might become part of your discussion at dinner or just as you're out for a walk. For me, the greatest human superpower is to be good for the whole world with every single thing you do. Good for the whole world, whatever you are doing. That's quite a task. Take some thinking, some planning. Brush your teeth. Is it good for the whole world? Eat breakfast. Good for the whole world? Travel to school. Travel to relatives' homes. Play with friends. Good for the whole world? Watch TV or your computer. Eat dinner with your family. Good for the whole world? How so? How not? Might write me or email me with some ideas that you might have, and maybe we can talk more about it later. The greatest human superpower is what? Now, if you have a personal joy or concern to share, and you have not sent it in to me or Susan or Dave, you might share it now on the right of your screen. Or you might save it for our coffee hour shortly when we have our check-in after this service. And you're welcome to send joys and concerns to the worship committee co-chairs, Dave Mapp or Susan Benor, or to me in the course of the week for sharing next week. And while you are typing or reading joys or concerns, here's John with our offertory and then our reading will follow.
To keep our congregation thriving, may we remember our connection to one another. And let us not forget our offerings to support the means to those connections. As you listen to the offering music, please click on the I in the upper right-hand corner of your screen to make a contribution. You can also donate by the Give Plus app or on our webpage under the Giving tab, or by sending a check to the church office. Many thanks.
What gift can we bring? What present, what token, what words can convey it, the joy of this day, when grateful we come, remembering, rejoicing, what song can we offer in honor and praise?
Our reading this morning for this uncertain time of possibility and hope is from The Divine Milieu by Pierre Teilhard de Chardin. Growth seems so natural that we do not pause to separate our action from the forces which nourish that action, or the circumstances which favor its success. But if we hope to carry the spirit of the earth to its limits within us and our world, we must penetrate our most secret self and examine being from all sides, to perceive the ocean of forces to which we are subjected and in which our growth is steeped. For this, I took the lamp, and leaving the zone of everyday occupations and relationships, where everything seems clear, I went down into my inmost self, to the deep abyss, whence I feel dimly that my power of action emanates. As I moved away from the conventional certainties, at each step of descent, a new person was disclosed, who no longer obeyed me. And when I had to stop because the path faded from beneath my step, I found a bottomless abyss at my feet. And out of it came, arising I know not from where, the current which I dare to call my life. To cleave to it, that which animates us and sustains us, our development is to open to and put trust in all the breaths of life and the lovable duty of growth.
Thank you, Craig family, for the reading. Have you ever had moments like Teilhard de Chardin's where everything was called into doubt? Deepest beliefs, institutions you were raised in, people you were raised by, you yourself, called into doubt, called into question. Come to think of it, moments like in these very times. I'd like to learn more about what precipitated Teilhard de Chardin's plunge into the abyss of being. I know that from the 1920s to the 1950s, he was not only an esteemed Jesuit theologian and philosopher, but a working paleontologist studying human origins. Yet the Vatican repeatedly denied him permission to publish his works. In serious conflict over core values, he had reason for the look inward of which we just heard. Where else might he find a locus of trust and hope that helps give life worth? UU theologian, historian, and minister Alice Blair Wesley says, that is what a free church is all about, to be a locus for the development of trust, hope, and worth for individuals, communities, and our world. To walk together, seeking the ways of truth and affection, she wrote, for the, quote, mutual edification, the spiritual growth of its members. Does that not describe Unitarian Universalism and its spirit? And that is what Teilhard pointed toward in his work, building communities of relationship, networks between people and life and the source of life, to promote human worth and fulfill the potential of our whole universe. His own development started with a trust and a sense of purposefulness and worth and joy from the influence of his science and spirit-oriented parents in France. This orientation toward life expanded through his own studies and often mentored achievement as a scientist and a theologian. He was not without adversity. His institution, the Catholic Church, vigorously rejected his work. But with tradition-based trust, hope, and worth pulled out from under him, he took the lamp, as a Unitarian Universalist is called to do, and went down searching through his hitherto unexamined earlier life for a lasting foundation for trust, hope, and worth. And he finally came to a current of energy which he could not pass, and which, as he put it, he dared to call his life. He saw in this current the creative power of existence, the grace in his life and in all being. Divinity's creative power was not for him alone, but was for everything, regardless, the good and the bad alike. And so then must he be. Teilhard chose to base his trust and hope and worth in the universe's evolutionary process and in the spirit of human beings and their communities, the as yet most evolved expressions of the divine spirit in his view. Teilhard's view blended with the thinking of philosophers Alfred North Whitehead and Charles Hartshorne is known as process theology, and has influenced much of Unitarian Universalist theology over our last 2 generations. So for the development of trust, hope, and the sense of self-worth in a privileged man, so much for that. That's Teilhard's experience. What about those born into the struggle of endless woe? Is the fault in them or in their stars? The road taken may make all the difference, but what if the better road is barricaded against them? Why do the poor die more often in pandemics in America and the world? Why are some people homeless and so many in America? Why do many poor youth end up in jail? What of trust and hope and self-worth for them? What influence is theirs over fate and the stars? As you probably do, I've got a number of memories of travail of such people, stretching from years in Boston's Community Action Agency, to Vietnamese refugee camps and orphanages, to hospice bedrooms, to the Homeless Coalition of Alachua County in Florida. From all of that life experience, I can only conclude that the potential for hope and worth of many people goes completely unrealized, even in the fortunate. So can people help themselves and others live and grow in hope and worth? Much of our mindset is embedded in us by the world's influence long before we can thoughtfully choose to accept or counter that influence. Our genes for personality, for example, account on average for 50% of the influence on our understanding and our choices. The other 50% of influence comes from cultivation by our surroundings, family, community, culture, world, and by our own inner workings. But we do have the potential, starting sometime in childhood or youth, to realize that obedience to outside authority is not necessarily our best way to happiness, and that we can have influence. For example, I've mentioned a girl named Lizzie before from South Boston's housing projects who attended the Anti-Poverty Youth Center I staffed ages and ages ago. The nuns at her parochial school seemed to consider her not worth their time except to repress her irrepressibleness. Lizzie often asked questions, sometimes dizzy ones, like, if 90% of accidents happen within a mile of the home, why don't people just move? But one of the staff people at our anti-poverty headquarters said, Lizzie's always curious. Maybe that's because she's smart. Convinced, we then convinced the school to put this wayward girl on its college track. She then went on to win a scholarship to Brandeis University and went on to a career helping and teaching the left-behind kids of her city. For Lizzie, the difference was made by her unconstrainable human curiosity and a number of faithful mentors. Both suffering and loving can be motivators for seeking new ways to influence life's outcomes. Each stage of life invites or demands new searches for understanding and choice. Teilhard's inward look and Lizzie's outward search are the two broad paths of the quest. The spirit quest is for learning to observe, listen, be patient enough to not miss what is worthy in ourselves and others and the world. The training for the quest is to learn how to ask for and accept help from others who have gone before us, for how to explore and how to discern what is good. It's worth asking, I think, how well have I quested over the years? We can start by reviewing our relationships at each stage of life, maybe every 7-year block perhaps, asking, for what did I hope? In whom did I trust or distrust? What self-worth did I feel? What did I do? Why? Lots of times we don't reflect much, don't assess much, don't know much. And that, I think, is why we can do bad things and yet not be sinners, not fallen, because we are actually trying to do good things, to rise, but in ignorance. It is said the teacher will come when the student is ready. But I think numerous possible teachers are already present at every step and stage. We just need to learn to ask them, hey, what do you think? So ask questions and trust test the answers. Use prayer to clarify purpose, prayer to yourself. Use meditation to mature awareness into insight. Find a few trustworthy people to walk and talk with in the quest to understand and care and fulfill. Reframe understanding human nature from being competitors to being contributors. Consider, through the stages of seeking fulfillment as a friend, a mate, parent, worker, leader, spiritual guide, consider what it means to be selfless, treating your others as you treat yourself or your children or your pets. No extra returns expected, just knowing that any enhancement of their well-being enhances yours. In time, you could become a star, your own star, orienting, guiding, lighting, warming, inspiring, spotlighting worth in all things. And that is another way to describe the purpose of our church, to make stars out of the currents of energy and potential which we dare to call our lives. Opening to and putting trust in the breaths of life and the lovable duty of growth. Thank you for being part of our church. Look forward to seeing you soon. See you at coffee hour if you have time.
And now our service ends with a breath. We pass the flame of our chalice lamp to each other as we say our closing words together. We extinguish this flame but not the light of truth, the warmth of love, or the fire of courage. These we carry in our hearts and out into the world.
When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we trust the wisdom in each of us, every color, every creed and kind, and we see our faces in each other's eyes, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we tell our story from deep inside, and we listen with a loving mind, and we hear our voices in each other's words, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy